And we're live. Dagmar Bryant, I just want to personally thank you for giving us your time today. My name is Johnna, as you can see. You can call me Grace, either or is fine. So, where are you today? Like, what place in the world?
Oh, I'm in Lincolnshire in the UK, so a little bit
Mm,
north of London, probably about
Okay.
2 hours drive north of London.
Okay, 2 hours drive north of London. So, first, before we get started on taking the calculated risks that it's needed to succeed, I want to ask you a few questions about your current relationship status. Are you single, married?
I'd like to think happily married.
Okay, wonderful. When did you? Is it uh opposite sex?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a guy. He's an
okay,
Englishman. Met him back in 2010, 2011. So, and
okay,
we've been married since 2012.
okay. How did you all meet?
Actually, in England, we were
Mhm.
studying at a course together, and you know that little saying about just that spark that hits, and yeah, it was an instant connection. It was one of those real fabulous soul connections.
Okay, and how has it been so far?
Well, like any relationship, it has its ups and downs, but I'd like to think he's a keeper.
All right. So, during your relationship, what was one of the most trying times that you all needed to overcome?
Um, Well, we had some challenges when we moved to the US, and also
Okay.
yeah, we moved to the US and we started a business. And that was quite difficult for us because, you know, we wanted it to be a success and it kind of
hmm
didn't work out that way. So we had some big decisions to make about, you know, whether to go back to Australia or whether to come here. And mainly because of family, his
hmm
family in specific, we decided to move here.
Okay, back to. Oh, and you have
Oh,
some
to the
feedback in the
back to the
background.
UK. No, I haven't got anything on.
Oh, no, 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 I hear it. It's probably because, maybe you don't have the headset on. It's
Oh, I
fine.
can put a headset on. You want me to put a headset on?
Sure, sure, that would be great. So, what made you all go to the US anyway?
Oh, long time dream. It was something that was very special to us. Hold on a sec.
Mhm.
Give me a sec.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Turn up the volume, please.
Can you hear me now?
It's very low.
It's not low on this end. Sorry.
Okay, that's better. That's better now. Okay, you said it was a lifelong dream. What was the actual dream? You just wanted to move to the what about the US fascinated you?
Well, we'd been to Glenn had lived in the US once before, and
Mhm.
it was one of those dreams for me. We've both loved California, and we really
Okay.
wanted to try it out, see how we could, you know, work it. And we did. Basically, it was just one of those things that was very important to us. We just wanted to give it a go.
Mhm.
I
And
think
then go ahead.
I think it's one of those things we didn't want to have regrets in terms
Right.
of not doing it because,
Okay.
you know, if we would, even though it didn't work out the way that we had perhaps thought, it was still important to us. And, you know, I think that applies to anything. You don't want to go living life full of regrets. You know,
Right.
if we didn't do it, we would have always thought, well, maybe should we have, could we have, but didn't. But then we did. So,
Right. And what business was it that you all were building in the US?
oh, we were trying to run events in the holistic kind
Okay.
of well-being area.
Okay.
Hmm.
And is that the
Yeah.
same thing you're doing where you are now?
No, I'm a mindset and transformational business coach, actually. So that's kind of
Mhm.
like my background. So I've gone back to do
Yeah.
it to more of doing that one-on-one consulting and group coaching with clients.
Right. So I was more asking it because you all were going into business together. I was just asking, is that do you all have multiple businesses and maybe that was one of the businesses that y'all still try to go into?
No, we're not doing that here, probably because there's not quite the same market for it.
Okay, got you. So going back to your marriage, how long did you date before you actually decided to get married?
About 12 months because
Really?
because he was still living in England and I was still living in Australia. And then we had lots and lots and lots of Skype sessions. It was like every
Mm-hmm.
other day we were on Skype. So blessing the Skype gods.
Okay.
And I went over to England twice and he came over to Australia once. So we had the opportunity to both spend time with each other. So I think it was 1 month each time that we were together. So it just strengthened that bond.
Okay. So it was really long distance dating.
For a while, yes.
Wow. And so, I mean, for the full 12 months, right? I mean, maybe you visited each other a few times throughout, but
Yeah, yeah.
so what do you say about long distance dating? How did it make you feel during that time?
I think because we met each other first, and
Mhm.
we basically met in March, and I was back over there in May, and I spent the whole a whole month with him, and so we really got to know each other very well during that first month. And I think that really cemented that we wanted to keep going with it. And then he came over in August, and I went back over in November. So it was like
Mhm.
2 or 3 months in between where we both had commitments. He had work, I had work, but we were still doing the Skype thing. And it gave us really the opportunity to learn a lot about each other, because when you're on this camera, you're forced to speak to each other.
That's right.
You're forced to look at each other, and you're forced to have conversations.
That is so
Uh,
true.
and I got to meet his family when I was over the very first time. So
Mhm.
they already knew about me. My daughters got to meet him as well. So it was a really great
Okay.
way of introducing everybody, I guess.
So you had children before
Hmm.
you met him. How many children did you have before you met him?
I have two. And they
Oh,
were even then they were already grown up.
really? So, okay, so take it back a little bit. When you said you met him at a university, I thought you were saying like when you maybe like 18.
Oh, no, no,
Um,
no, 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 no. We were at a course together, is what I said.
okay, okay.
A course. So
Gotcha.
he had just turned 40. I'm the older woman. I'll put my
Mhm.
hand up to that.
Okay, that's
He,
fine.
he had just turned 40. I was just turning 45.
Okay. So with your the children that you had from a previous relationship, do they have the same father?
Yes,
Okay, and how long were you with their father?
about 8 years.
Okay, were you all married?
Yes.
Okay, okay, so that was important information. What happened in that marriage?
Oh, I would call it lessons in empowerment.
What does that mean?
Well, he his name was Craig. Basically, I say was because he's now gone to the spirit world. He's gone over to the other side. But
Okay,
he was 10 years older than I was at the time. And I
okay.
met him when I was about 23, 24. And
Mhm,
we chose to have kids fairly soon into our relationship. And I had Samantha when I was 25, and we chose that. So that in itself wasn't an issue. Like I said, he was 10 years older than me, and we agreed on that. But
mhm.
it was after I had kids that he tried to always tell me what to do. And it was when I was on
Mhm.
maternity leave. It was never the age thing that was the issue. It was you telling me what I can and can't do. And
Yeah,
I found that really, really disempowering.
yeah.
And I even wanted to go back to school myself, go back. In Australia, they have something called as a mature age student. If you're over 24 or 25, you go back as a mature age student. And I wanted to go back and study law. And his response to that, when I told him that, is, well, why on earth do you want to go and do that? You're going to be too old when you finish that. And who would employ you? No, 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 no. Why don't you go work down at the local grocery store? That'll do. And it's just like,
Really?
yeah, pretty much that's how that conversation went. So I actually just, that it was like the first real clue among some of those other things with disempowering behaviors that he was having, that I just knew this wasn't going to last. This wasn't for me. There was no way I could stay in a relationship where I felt so stifled.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Were there any times that you tried to help him understand that about his own limiting beliefs? Because if he thought that about you, then it was probably a reflection of himself.
Oh, very much so. And I mean, we were working at we met through work, and we were working at one of the airlines, which no longer exists. Back in 1992, 1993, that they went broke. And he, even though I was on maternity leave and he was still working there, he'd always complain about how unhappy he was and he didn't want to be there and he didn't want to do it. And I said, well, you know, you've got the opportunity. You're not old. You can still go and learn, go do something else. And he'd always moan about it and say, no, I don't want to do that. I'm too old. I can't do anything.
And how old was he?
35 at the time, 35, 36. And it was like he was behaving like an old man. And I said, well, you know, you don't have to think like that. But it just didn't seem to matter anything that I said. So I tried to encourage him and try to encourage sort of change in the relationship as well. And it was the night before I left, he actually said, don't go, stay. I'll do anything you want. I'll even go to counselling. And my response to him was, well, I've tried to get you to come to counselling for 2 years. 2 years. I said, I'm done. I had nothing left to give. And, you know, when only one person is trying in the relationship, you can't keep it going.
You cannot keep it going.
He didn't want to listen to me. So it was, you know, I'm sorry. I mean, I know I did try, but he signed the death warrant on that relationship. It's never one person. I mean, you know, there's always two in the relationship, but when one person doesn't want to try.
Yes, that is so true, because I think it seems like he kind of took what you were doing for granted. Like, she's not going to leave. She'll stay, you know.
Well, he thought that his my way or the highway attitude was the one that's winning through. And unfortunately, he got a bit of a rude shock when I didn't do as I was told.
Wow. So, okay. So how long after you got a divorce, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So how long after the divorce did he pass away?
Oh, that was now probably about 10 years ago. So there was still probably a good 20 years in between from the time I left to, I mean, my kids were grown up when he passed away. Yeah.
And how did he pass away?
I believe it was a heart attack.
Really? And had he ever changed his ways by then?
Don't know, because we never kept in touch, and he made it a point. He made a point of punishing me because I left, because he never wanted to have anything to do with me or the kids.
Did you feel like it? Did you feel like you were being punished?
No, I actually, to me, I didn't care. I mean, I was the one doing all the work anyway when I was in the marriage. So after he left, I always tried to push for him to have access visits, but his idea of having access visits was, I'll see them on my birthday, one daughter's birthday, the other daughter's birthday, at Christmas, and at one other date. It was like, I'll see them 6 times a year. And I said, well, hold on a sec. What about being an actual parent? What about actually being really involved in their lives? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Or no, I've got shift work, or I've got this, or I've got that. So it was always excuses on why he couldn't be a parent. His idea of being a parent was, I'll be involved within their lives when they're happy days, but he didn't actually want to do any of the work. So I got to a point where I just got jack of that, and I said, we're not doing this anymore. Either be involved or don't, but none of this half rubbish.
Right. And so how old were your children when you all divorced?
Well, that's a bit, do you know what? I can't even exactly remember. I split up with him. Goodness, I was in my early 30s. Late 20s. Yeah, late 20s. But I got a divorce probably about 5 years later. I just, we were separated well and done before I actually put the paperwork through.
Okay. So how did that affect them, your children?
Well, they never got to see him. So
even when you all were married?
What do you mean? So help me understand what you're asking me.
My question is, how old were your children when you got a divorce? And then how did that affect them after you all got the divorce, and you were
Okay.
saying they never even saw him.
Well, we need to break this down a little bit because
Okay.
there's a big time difference here. So
Okay.
when I left him, one daughter was 2, almost 3. The other
Okay.
one was 4. Remember that? Well, you got to understand they're only
Okay.
19 months apart. So they were really little. And
Mhm.
sure, they missed him, but kids adapt. So, by the time the divorce came through, he'd hardly seen them.
Okay, got you. So they weren't even really old enough to really remember having a true relationship with him.
Yeah, after a while, it became like that. Yes.
Okay, wow. So how was their life affected by not growing up without a father?
Well, I did go into a relationship sometime after that, and he became like if you like, a substitute father, and so
Mhm.
he tried to give what Craig didn't. So in some way, they still had a father figure in their life.
Okay, and how long did that relationship last?
Probably about 5, 6 years.
Why did it end?
Um, don't know if I really want to go into that, but
Okay.
yeah, it was just a difficult. It was just difficult. Yeah, let's leave that one.
Got you, got you, got you. So we're going to leave that one. And you had about two serious relationships before your present marriage.
Yeah.
And your present marriage is going pretty good. How did you come into the I love what you said. I want to make sure I say the entire thing. It says life is not about sitting on the sidelines. To
Hmm.
achieve success, you need to take calculated risk.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, to me, it's the perfect statement given that I took the chance with my now husband to go to California. It's me taking the chance and jumping in and going into a relationship with a man who's living halfway around the world.
Mhm.
If I would have said no to this relationship, let's
Mhm.
start with that. If I would have said no, then I would never be in this wonderful relationship. I think
Mhm.
sometimes we do need to take a risk, and I say calculated risk because it's not
Mhm.
like you're just jumping off a bridge. You do
Not a
have,
gamble.
yeah, absolutely. It is a gamble, but it's a relatively calculated gamble. When you have a
Mhm.
connection with someone, you want to give that a go. Why wouldn't you? If you always stay in the safe zone, then it's not going to give you those results. If we never went to California, how would I know how wonderful it is to live in California?
Right, absolutely. And I wanted to know because you did say you speak on relationships.
Yes.
So, did that come from all of your combined relationships? What do you really target or talk about? What's the main topic when it comes specifically to relationships when you're either speaking with women or men?
Empowerment. That is the
Mhm.
key topic because with Craig, it was very much a journey of my way or the highway. You know, you got to
Mhm.
do it my way. And if you don't like it, you're out the door. And after a while, it became
Mhm.
very clear to me that that highway is looking nice and fine.
Mhm.
And I had an experience with my father as well, because my father, I didn't realize until after I was in that relationship with Craig that I'd married a man like my father, because my father was
Mm.
a very good old school German, and he was very dominating like that too. Now, don't get me wrong, I dearly loved my father and he made me a very strong woman, but it was also always, you got to do what I say, and if you don't do what I say, then you're not really in the good books. So one
Mhm.
of my lessons in this lifetime was very much about breaking free of not one but two powerful men to find my own path.
Mm. And
And
why do
that's
you call them powerful?
them powerful, no, because it's made me more powerful.
Oh, I thought you said you breaking away from two powerful men.
Well, yeah, they powerful in the sense of that they had a hold over me, and my
Okay.
lesson was to break break free. They were powerful because they were strong. They had a strong influence in my life.
Okay.
They were strong in their own way, the relationships. So it's not always an easy thing to
Mm-hmm.
break up with a relationship, especially a parental
Right.
relationship, when you realize that it's not in your best interest to stay in that
Right.
relationship.
That is very true.
I could have stayed with Craig for the benefits of the children and been miserable for 20 odd years of my life. Why did I want to put myself through that? I didn't.
Right. Right. And it's interesting when you say he was powerful because of the influence that he
Mm,
had over you, but
yes.
do you at the same time believe you're the one who gave him that power? Because right now, I'm sure well, if he were alive, right, he would have no power in your life.
Yes,
Uh,
correct.
yes. So we're the ones who really give certain people that type of control or power, right?
Yeah, absolutely, in a relationship. And I think when I met Craig, I was probably looking for a certain amount of security,
Hmm.
stability, and he represented that for me.
Hmm.
And I didn't see that as a bad thing. I didn't
Hmm.
see it as being a controlling thing. It to me became controlling. I think as I grew and, grew as a person, grew in terms of who I was. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden you get to a point where you realize that you're no longer on a parallel path.
Yeah, and I actually kind of relate to you with the whole after you have gotten pregnant or even while you're pregnant, people telling you you can't do that. You can't.
Mm,
That is something that I do not like at all because now you're putting doubt in me. I'm not going to be pregnant all the time, but telling me you can't do that.
yeah,
If I were to believe that, that would continue to go in my mind even after I deliver my baby. And then
exactly.
and then you're going to keep when I have a child or the little one, well, you can't do that as a stop telling me what I can't do. Maybe you can't do it, but putting your limiting beliefs on me. So that's where you and I have similarities. I don't like that. And anytime someone tells me I can't do something, that empowers me to say yes, I can. It empowers me. It's kind of like I'm not a rebel, but it makes me a rebel. I'm going to do it because you told me that I couldn't. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think we definitely resonate there. So if I had a session with you because you are a mind transformation coach, it's like you reverse the limiting beliefs, right, that people have
Yes.
um, on
Yeah.
themselves. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is about helping you to
Hmm.
break free of those limiting beliefs and having a look at, well, where did they come from? Where did they start? And, really breaking the breaking that cord, snipping that cord with those limiting beliefs.
Right. And then how long have you been doing this?
Well, I guess I've worked out about 18 or so odd years.
Okay. I
Yeah.
got you. So during a session with you, if I was kind of in your similar situation of, well, I just had a baby. I want to start a job, not a job. I want to start my own business. And my partner is just kind of, put this doubt in me like I can't do it. And I'm kind of, I want to do it, but now I'm kind of doubting myself like, how could I set up a session with you? How would it go?
Well, you want to ask how you would set up a
Yeah,
session with
I'm
me?
I'm 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 basically acting it out. Like if somebody were in this situation, how
Oh,
would it
what
go?
what we would go through in the session?
Yes.
We would have to, it's not just one, you got to understand it's not just
Mhm.
one session, because
Absolutely. Right, right, right.
often we have layers and layers, and
Right.
we would try and address the different aspects of what you would like to address first. So in
Mhm.
a situation like that, we have to look at, for example, we'd have to look at, do you still want the relationship and how important is that relationship?
Mhm.
We would factor in, what do you want in regards to the relationship with your children and and your partner? How do you want that to go? What about work? What kind of money do you have? What kind of security do you have? So there's a number of different
Mhm.
facets that we would definitely have to look. And we have to look at, for a start, what's important to you. And if your story and my story is very similar, like that, the
Mhm.
first thing that your partner or spouse has done to you is erode you of all confidence, then that's probably the very first thing that we need to look at, is looking at your confidence and bringing that back to you so that you can make empowering decisions for yourself. Because when you come from a place of being scared, being insecure, you're not in a place where you can make those really empowering decisions. And so we've got to, there are a number of kind of paths that we need to take depending on the kind of questions and priorities that you bring to the session.
Okay, and then how long, because it's a program, right? Since it's not just one session.
Well, you can sign up with me for 3 months, 6 months,
Okay.
or 12 months. So there are a number of different options for you.
Okay, so with is the transformation usually complete in 3 months, or it kind of just depends on the person?
Yeah, it's how long is a piece of string, and sometimes people want to have longer coaching because they're going through a process and they need that confidence. I remember when I separated from Craig. No, actually, no, that's true. That's not true. Let's go back a bit. Before I was even thinking about separating from Craig, I spoke to a very, very good friend of mine who happened to be a guy that I went to school with. And he said he'd gone through his own divorce and process. And he said, Dagmar, from the time that you make that decision, it's going to take at least 2 years. So 2 years for a lot of processes to happen. And for some people that's shorter, some people that's longer. And it was probably in actual fact 2 years, even though I still took longer to get the actual divorce. In my mind, I got to a point where I kind of had already, Elvis had left the building.
Yeah. At some point, did you forget that you were even married?
No, I always remembered that I was still married, but I became very clear on what I wanted to achieve and how I was going to do that.
And how did that kind of affect your dating? If you wanted, did you even date in that time period that you were separated? Did you let people know that, hey, I'm going through a divorce? Or
well, I kind of was already separated, but
right.
it takes time, It's not just an immediate thing from going from one relationship to the other now, is it? So
you're saying that to some people jump right into something else.
You know what? And you're absolutely right. They do. And I think it depends on your state of mind of when, you've left the relationship. I think that's the crucial thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes people can still be living under the same roof, but in their mind, they're already separated.
Right. Gotcha.
So I think that's where I was at, that in my mind, I was already, halfway out that door. And yes, I was still married, but I had plans, if you know what I mean. So at that point in time, I wasn't interested in seeing anybody else. Yes, somebody else came into my life after a period of time, but that wasn't my first key focus. I wasn't thinking I have to find somebody else before I leave. That wasn't the way I was thinking. And I do think that there is a bit of a trap with that. If we're right away thinking, I have to have another relationship before I can leave, there is that real danger of jumping from the fry pan into the fire. Again, you're not making it from an empowered decision, from an empowered space within yourself, unless you're already very clear that you've left the building, kind of like I had.
Right. So I kind of want to touch on a part of, you helping other people transform their mind. In your relationship, Craig, he tried to stop you from pursuing your law degree, but you did end up pursuing your law degree. Correct?
I did a long time. Well, that was after I was already in that other relationship I told you about. So yes, I absolutely did, and I did it via online. Actually,
Okay.
it was perfect. Yes, I did get to finally achieve it once I had achieved a certain amount of stability within my work and with my life.
Right. And so have you ever practiced as a lawyer? How did you like it?
That's another story in itself. I got to probably about halfway through because I was studying part-time as well as working full-time before I went part-time in both work and in law, and got to about taxation law. And my heart just wasn't feeling it anymore. And I was working at patent and trademark attorneys at the time. And let's just say there was a lot of stuff going on
Mhm.
in that organization. So for a firm that's associated with legal matters, you would think that they would know better. But it was kind of like this real snowball effect. And it was like a Sunday morning. I'm supposed to be studying taxation law, got all this stuff going on in my work, and my heart just knew that I was done, just done. And I gave in my resignation the following
Yes.
week,
Mhm.
at work, and I pretty much quit law
Right.
with my law studies as well very soon thereafter. And my father, especially, he was hugely shocked. He always said, "Oh, we're going to have a lawyer in the family, and quitting on this, and da 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 da." And yeah, he gave me the third degree on that. But yeah, it was just an aha moment. I was done, but I had proven to myself it wasn't.
Mhm.
I had proven to myself that I could do it. I
That's
had
right.
proven to myself that I could be successful in it, but it just didn't resonate. One of my core values is about justice, funnily enough, justice and fairness. And with everything that was going on in the firm, I came to that realization there wasn't that justice, there wasn't
Mhm.
that fairness in law. So it was undermining one of my core values. And
Mhm.
we're just, yep, done. We're done. I can't achieve helping other people with
Mhm.
what's going on here.
Right. So you need to achieve success. You need to take calculated risk. Within this, you've shown me that you are a risk taker. You don't care if you don't quote unquote succeed. You just want to make sure you try it to say that I did, that you won't regret not trying it. Even when it came to moving to the States, when it came right, when it came to pursuing your law degree, when it came to leaving a relationship that you know was not fulfilling for you. Uh, it didn't matter what if. You just wanted to go ahead and take that leap of faith, and look at you now. And I just want to really appreciate you for sharing your testimony and your overcoming with us. Before we leave, is there anything that you want to let us know?
Well, just thank you so much for having me on the show. And I really look forward to connecting with some of your viewers and listeners, and hope that if you do want some coaching, you'll contact me
Mhm.
via Facebook on Dagmar Bryant, or via my webpage on dagmarbryant.com.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on there on here. It's www.dagmarbryant.com.
No WW, it's the
Okay.
HTTPS colon slash slash forward slash forward slash. Yeah, just dagmarbryant.com will find it.
Okay, and then how can would they book a program? Do they just book on your site, or they have to have a consultation with you first?
We would have a discovery session first, and
Okay.
you can definitely book that in via the site. So
All
it's
right.
it's roughly a 30-minute discovery session where we just have a chat, and to see if you like me and I like you, and if it's a nice fit.
Right. So anyway, thank you so much, like I said, Dagmar, for giving your time, and we will see everybody on the next show.
Thank
Bye.
you.